I came home early. The apartment smelled like garlic and something sweet. Her "I'm in a good mood" cooking. I remember smiling like an idiot in the hallway, already rehearsing some corny line in my head about being the luckiest man alive. Then I heard the laugh. Not a polite chuckle. Not a, "haha, that's cute." It was the kind of laugh that lands hard. Like the speaker is leaning into it, enjoying it. It came from the kitchen. And it wasn't just my wife. Her sister was there too. Great. Nothing says peace like a surprise bonus character. I slowed down. Not because I was trying to sneak. I just had that instinct you get when you realize you're about to walk into something and you don't know if it's a birthday cake or a trap. My wife said, in the most casual tone imaginable, like she was commenting on the weather, "If he doesn't like something, the door's right there. He's not going anywhere anyway." Her sister laughed like she'd just heard a killer joke. I stood there in the hallway with my hand still on my backpack strap, frozen in that exact posture of a man who suddenly realizes he's not a husband in a relationship. He's furniture. Reliable. Present. Quiet. Always in the same spot. My brain did that stupid thing where it tries to negotiate with reality. She didn't mean it like that. Maybe they're talking about someone else. Maybe I misheard. But I didn't mishear. The laugh confirmed the tone. The tone confirmed the meaning. And my inner voice, usually a pretty confident guy, sounded weirdly small. Is that really how she sees me? Do I look that guaranteed? I didn't march in and demand explanations. I didn't slam anything. I didn't do the whole "what did you just say" routine like I was auditioning for a daytime drama. Because here's the truth. When something hits you that clean, that precise, you don't explode. You just go quiet. I turned around and walked to our bedroom like nothing happened. Like I was just a man doing normal man things. Like I hadn't just been reduced to a predictable household appliance in my own home. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at my hands for a second. I heard them still talking in the kitchen. The clink of utensils. More laughter. Her sister's voice floating in and out. It all sounded warm and normal. That made it worse. Because it meant this wasn't a fight. This wasn't anger. This wasn't, "we're having issues." This was just their reality, their assumption. He's not going anywhere anyway. A few minutes later, my wife called out, "Babe, you home?" Her voice was bright, sweet even, like she'd just found a puppy. I swallowed, forced air into my lungs, put on my normal face. "Yeah," I said, keeping it light. "Came back early." She appeared in the doorway with that effortless look she always had. Hair up, oversized sweater, confident eyes. Her sister peeked behind her, grinning. "Look who decided to grace us," the sister said. I gave a small smile. The kind you give when you're polite, and also calculating how fast you could disappear into the wall. "Hey," I said. My wife kissed my cheek. "You're quiet. Everything okay?" My brain wanted to scream. "You literally just described me as an object that comes with the apartment." But my mouth went, "Yeah, just tired." And she accepted that immediately. Too easily. Like she'd always accepted that. Like my emotions were background noise she didn't have to adjust the volume for. We went through the motions. They talked. I nodded. I made a couple of jokes. Even got a laugh out of them once, which felt ironic in a way that I didn't enjoy. At some point her sister left. Then it was just me and my wife, the kitchen lights warm, the air smelling like comfort, like safety. And I felt none of it. She leaned on the counter and said, "You're really in your head tonight." "Maybe," I said. She stepped closer, playful, and bumped my arm with her elbow. "Did work destroy your spirit again?" I almost said, "No, my spirit was fine until I heard my wife tell her sister I'm basically a houseplant." Instead, I said, something like that. She didn't push. She didn't ask follow-ups. That night, I didn't initiate anything. Not a kiss. Not a long talk. I just existed quietly. She noticed, but only in a vague way. Like you notice the Wi-Fi is a little slower. When we got into bed, she scrolled on her phone, smiling at whatever was on her screen. I stared at the ceiling and tried not to sound like a man having an existential crisis over a single sentence. Eventually, she set her phone down, rolled toward me, and rested her hand on my chest. "Love you," she said, soft and automatic. I looked at her. She meant it. I could tell. That's what made the whole thing confusing. "Love you too," I said, because I did. And I hated that those words didn't protect me from feeling diminished. The next day, I carried it around like a pebble in my shoe. Small, but constant. Every time I tried to focus on work, my brain replayed it like a stupid audio clip. He's not going anywhere anyway. By the time I got home that evening, I had convinced myself I needed to address it. Not dramatically, not like a wounded puppy, not like a guy who needed permission to have a spine. Just directly, calmly, like a man who respected himself. We were in the living room. She was on the couch, legs tucked under her, watching something mindless, the kind of show where people argue in expensive kitchens. I stood behind the couch for a second and said, casual, "Hey, can I ask you something?" She didn't look away from the TV. "Sure." I sat on the edge of the coffee table so she'd have to see me if she wanted to keep pretending everything was normal. I kept my voice even. "Yesterday, when your sister was here, did you really mean what you said?" She finally looked at me, eyebrows slightly lifted. "What did I say?" "You said, if I don't like something, the door's right there, and that I'm not going anywhere anyway." For half a second, there was a flicker in her eyes, the smallest pause, like her brain had to locate the file and decide whether it was important. Then she smiled. "Oh my God," she said, laughing like I'd accused her of stealing my socks. "You were listening." I held her gaze. "I was walking in. I heard it." She waved a hand like she was brushing away a fly. "Babe, it was just a phrase. It's not that deep." I kept my tone steady. "Okay, but do you believe it?" She sat up, a little more alert now, like the show had finally gotten interesting. "Believe what?" "That I'm not going anywhere," I said. "That you can say things like that, and it doesn't matter." Her face twisted into mild disbelief, like I'd asked if she believed the moon was real. "Seriously?" she said. "You're doing this?" "I'm asking because I heard it," I said, "and it didn't feel great." She sighed, the kind of sigh that announces, "Here we go. I'm married to a sensitive man." "You always do this," she said. "You take something casual and turn it into this whole thing." I blinked. "So I'm not allowed to feel anything about it?" "You can feel whatever you want," she said, and the tone was perfect, reasonable, almost kind. The kind of tone that makes you sound irrational if you push back. "But don't make it into a character assassination." I almost laughed. Character assassination. Like I'd accused her of crimes against humanity. Meanwhile, she'd basically told her sister I was a guaranteed product with free shipping. I leaned back slightly. "I'm not assassinating anyone. I'm asking a simple question." She tilted her head. "Do you want me to apologize for a joke?" "I want you to tell me if that's how you see me," I said, slow and clear. "Like, I'll always be here no matter what." Her eyes narrowed a fraction. "Why wouldn't you be?" There it was. Not because I love you. Not because we're a team. Not because I want you. Just, why wouldn't you? Like my presence was the default setting. I kept my voice controlled, but my sarcasm slipped out anyway. "Wow, that's romantic. I feel cherished." She rolled her eyes. "Don't do that." "Do what?" "That thing," she said, gesturing vaguely, like my personality was an inconvenient habit. The dramatic sarcasm. I held up both hands. "I'm not being dramatic. I'm being honest. It hurt." She looked at me for a long second, then exhaled. "Okay," she said softer. "I'm sorry it hurt, But I didn't mean it like that. I was joking with my sister. You. You know I love you. But she still didn't answer the question. I nodded slowly. Right. She reached out and touched my arm. Can we not do this tonight? There it was again. The request for convenience, the subtle message. Your feelings are a scheduling issue. I stood up. Yeah, I said, forcing a small smile. Sure, no worries. I walked to the bathroom, closed the door, and stared at myself in the mirror. I didn't look broken. I didn't look weak. I looked like a normal guy. I went back out, acted normal, ate dinner, laughed at something stupid she said, even kissed her on the forehead, because I'm not a monster, and I wasn't trying to punish her. But inside, something had shifted. Not rage, not revenge, just this quiet, uncomfortable awareness. If I stayed the same, I'd keep getting treated the same. Over the next couple days, I started noticing everything. Not in a paranoid, she's evil way. More like someone finally putting on glasses after squinting for years. Little things. She'd make plans and assume I'd adjust mine. Saturday we're going to my parents', she'd say. Not, do you want to? If I suggested something, she'd half listen, then talk over me like she was finishing my thought for me. At dinner with friends, she'd toss out these casual jabs. Don't ask him to pick a restaurant, he'll pick something boring. Or, laughing, he's adorable, he thinks folding laundry counts as a personality trait. Everyone laughed, except me, and the worst part? She wasn't doing it like a villain. She was doing it like someone who's comfortable, someone who doesn't think you'll ever push back. And that's how I ended up making the dumbest decision I could have made. I decided to test the situation. Not in a smart way. Not in a communicate and set boundaries way. No, in the most emotionally clumsy way possible. I started coming home later. Not wildly late. Not, where have you been? Late. Just late enough to be noticeable. I stopped texting first. I stopped sending the little check-ins I always did. How's your day? Need anything? Want me to grab something? Not because I was busy, because I wanted to see if she'd notice. And yes, I can hear myself saying it too. That is the behavior of a man who needs to grow up. I know. But I was hurt. And hurt makes you stupid in ways you don't predict. The first evening I came home late, she looked up from the couch and said, "Oh, you're home." "No, I missed you." "No, everything okay?" Just, "Oh." Like my arrival was a notification. I forced a casual tone. "Yeah, got caught up." She shrugged. "Okay." Then went back to her show. I stood there for a second, waiting for a second wave of curiosity. Nothing. I felt ridiculous. Like I'd thrown a pebble in a lake and expected a tsunami. The second day, I stayed out later. Grabbed a coffee after work. Sat in my car and stared at the steering wheel, like a man contemplating the meaning of existence. Except the meaning of existence was apparently, how invisible can you become in your own marriage? I got home. She looked up. "Oh hey," she said. "I ate already." "Cool," I said. "Do you want leftovers?" And that was it. No tension, no worry, just logistics. On day 3, I didn't message her all day. Usually, I would have at least sent a meme or a busy day. This time, nothing. By evening, I was weirdly anxious, like I was waiting for a test result. When I walked in, she smiled, genuinely cheerful. "You're being so chill lately," she said. "It's kinda nice." I blinked. "Chill?" "Yeah," she said, getting up to pour herself a drink. "You're not constantly checking in. It feels less intense, like you're not hovering." That word hit me like a slap wrapped in a compliment. She wasn't missing me. She was enjoying the extra space. And my test wasn't making me feel stronger. It was making me feel replaceable. I laughed. Short, dry. Glad I could improve my hovering skills. She kissed me quickly and said, "I'm going out with Maya tomorrow after work." "Sure," I said. She paused like she expected a reaction. When none came, she smiled. Thanks. And for the first time, I felt the real fear underneath all this. What if she actually does prefer me like this? What if the version of me that cares is the version she finds annoying? What if the only reason she's comfortable is because she thinks I'm permanent? The next morning, I woke up before her. Not because I'm disciplined, not because I suddenly became a productivity guru. I just couldn't sleep properly anymore. My brain had turned into a late-night talk show host, replaying old episodes no one asked for. She was still asleep, facing away from me, one arm under the pillow. Peaceful, completely unaware that her husband was lying next to her conducting a full internal audit of his own worth. I got up quietly and made coffee. Usually I'd bring her a cup too, set it on her nightstand, kiss her temple, do the whole good morning beautiful routine. That morning, I didn't. Not to punish her, just to see what would happen if I stopped being automatic. When she walked into the kitchen 20 minutes later, hair messy, oversized shirt slipping off one shoulder, she blinked at me. "You're up early." "Yeah," I said. "Couldn't sleep." She glanced at the counter. "Did you make coffee?" "Yep." There was a tiny pause, just long enough for expectation to exist. Then she walked to the machine and poured herself a cup. No comment. No, "You didn't make me one?" Just adaptation. That's when it hit me. She didn't rely on me emotionally the way I relied on being needed. On her way out, she grabbed her bag and said, "Don't forget, I'll be late tonight. Maya and I are trying that new place downtown." I nodded. "Have fun." She studied me for half a second. "You're weird lately." I gave her a slight smile. "Maybe I'm evolving." She rolled her eyes. "Don't get philosophical before 9 a.m. And then she left. I stood in the kitchen alone, holding my mug, thinking, if I vanished for 48 hours, how long would it take her to actually panic? And immediately after thinking that, I hated myself a little. Because this wasn't love anymore. This was strategy. That evening, I didn't wait around for her. Usually I'd text around 7. "How's it going? Still alive? Don't let Maya convince you to get bangs." Nothing. At 9:12 p.m., she texted me first. Her. "Still alive?" I stared at the message longer than necessary, then replied. Me. "Yeah, that was it. No emoji, no follow-up." She read it immediately. No response. At 10:03 p.m., she sent a photo. Her and Maya at some rooftop place. Lights behind them. Her smiling, confident, unbothered. Caption, "You're missing out." I typed 3 different responses and deleted them all. Finally, me. "Looks fun." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Her. "You okay?" There it was. Not concern, curiosity. Me. "Yeah, why?" Her. "IDK. You're just different." Me. "Different how?" A pause. Her. "Less clingy." I actually laughed out loud in my empty living room. Clingy. That's what my care had translated into. Me. Noted. Her. "Don't start." Me. "I'm not starting anything." She didn't reply after that. Around 11:30 p.m., I heard the door unlock. She walked in slightly flushed from the night air, kicked off her shoes, and looked at me. "You're still up?" "Yep." She studied my face like she was trying to solve a small puzzle. "You didn't ask where we went." I saw the picture. "That's not the same," she said. I shrugged lightly. "You said downtown. I believe you." She stepped closer. "You usually ask more." "Maybe I trust you." That one landed. Not harsh, not accusing, just calm. Her expression shifted slightly. Not guilt, not anger, something more complicated. Like she didn't know whether to be pleased or unsettled. She walked past me into the kitchen. "Are you mad at me?" she called out. "No." "Are you sure?" "Yes." She came back into the living room, arms crossed now. "You're doing something." I tilted my head. "Existing?" She gave me that look again, the one that says you're being difficult in a way I can't quite label. "This passive thing," she said. "It's weird." "I'm not being passive," I replied evenly. I'm just not hovering. There was that word again. She narrowed her eyes slightly. You're still on that? I'm not on anything, I said. You said you liked that I was more chill, so I'm chill. That's not what I meant. What did you mean? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Frustration flickered across her face. She sighed and sat down across from me. Can you just say what's actually going on? I considered it. I could have said, I'm scared you don't value me the way I value you. I could have said, when you joked about me not going anywhere, it made me feel small. Instead, what came out was, I don't want to be the guy who's here by default. She blinked. What does that even mean? It means, I said carefully, I don't want to be here because you assume I'll always be here. I want to be here because you want me here. She stared at me like I'd just started speaking another language. I do want you here. Then don't treat me like a certainty. Her jaw tightened slightly. I wasn't. You were. Silence settled between us. Not loud, not dramatic, just heavy. She leaned back slowly. You're overthinking, she said. That sentence should be printed on a t-shirt for emotionally confused husbands everywhere. I might be, I admitted. But that doesn't mean I'm wrong. She looked at me for a long time. Then, softer. You're not going anywhere. There it was again. Not a question, a statement. I held her gaze. That's exactly the problem. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me for a second. I didn't think that joke meant anything, she said quietly. I really didn't. She swallowed. You think I don't respect you? I think, I said carefully, you got comfortable. Her lips pressed together. So did you. She wasn't wrong. We'd both settled into roles. She, confident, expressive, socially dominant. Me, steady, supportive, predictable. But I wasn't going to put up with it. 2 mornings later, while she was in the shower, I packed a small bag. Nothing dramatic. A couple of shirts, jeans, my toothbrush, charger. The kind of bag you pack when you don't want to signal the end of anything. Just a pause. I left it by the door. When she came out, towel wrapped around her hair, she noticed it immediately. She stopped mid-step. What's that? I'm gonna crash at Mark's for a couple days. She blinked once, like the sentence didn't parse. Why? Need some space. You're serious? Yeah. A short silence, then her tone snapped into practical mode, because practical mode is safe. Space for what? To think about what? About me, I said. About this. She exhaled sharply, a sound that carried more annoyance than air. This is insane, I shrugged lightly. Could be. Could be? She repeated, like I'd answered a math question with maybe. She stepped closer, eyes narrowing. It was a phrase, she said. I was talking to my sister. It wasn't a court statement. I know what it was, I said. I also know what it did. She crossed her arms. What it did? Come on. It made me realize you're pretty sure of me, I said. In a way that doesn't feel good. She gave me a look, half irritation, half, don't start with the vocabulary. Stop, she said. You're doing that thing again. What thing? The serious thing, she said, waving a hand like seriousness was a bad habit I picked up from the wrong crowd. You take something normal and make it into this heavy, whatever. I leaned against the counter, calm. Okay, then let's keep it normal, I said. I'm leaving for 2 days. I'm not disappearing. I'm not punishing you. I'm not trying to teach a lesson. I just need my head quiet. She stared at the bag, then back at me. So you can't have a quiet head here. Not right now. She laughed, short and sharp. That's convenient. And what am I supposed to do while you're gone? She shot back. Just sit and wait? I shrugged. Live, go to work, eat, watch your shows where people argue in expensive kitchens. She didn't like the sarcasm, but she didn't have a clean counter for it either. So you're leaving, she said slowly. and I'm supposed to just be cool with it. I'm not asking you to be cool, I said. I'm asking you to let me do it. She opened her mouth, then closed it. And I knew she wanted to say something like, "You're overreacting," but she could feel it wouldn't land the same anymore. I picked up the bag. "I'll text you later," I said. She didn't stop me. She didn't follow me. She didn't say goodbye. When I closed the door behind me, the quiet in the hallway felt cleaner than the quiet in our apartment. That scared me more than anything. Mark opened his door in sweats, one eyebrow already raised, because he's known me long enough to recognize the "I'm not here for fun" bag. He glanced at it, then at my face. "Either you got promoted or you got humbled." "Probably the second one," I said. He stepped aside. "Couch is yours. Beer?" "Water," I said. "I'm not trying to make worse decisions." "That alone tells me this is real," he said, deadpan. Mark didn't do therapy talk. He was the friend version of a sturdy chair. You sit down, you don't fall, that's it. We sat there for a while without talking. I stared at nothing in particular. He didn't push. After a few minutes, he said, still looking at the screen, "You angry or just tired?" "Neither," I said. "Just thinking." He nodded once. "Yeah, that's worse." And that was the entire conversation. No advice, no analysis, no motivational speech about self-respect. Just a place to sit without being the reasonable husband for a few hours. The next few days were quieter than I expected. Not peaceful, just stripped down. Mark went to work. I sat on his couch longer than I should have, walked around the block, drank bad coffee, let my head settle without having to react to anyone's tone or timing. My phone, on the other hand, didn't settle at all. At first, her messages came sharp. "This is unnecessary. You're overreacting. You're turning this into something it isn't." I didn't fight back. I didn't defend. I kept my answers short, calm, factual. Then the tone changed. "Where are you exactly? Are you still at Mark's? Why aren't you answering right away?" She started asking for details she'd never cared about before. "What did you do today? Who was there? When are you coming back?" There was a new rhythm to it, not casual, not curious, checking. One evening she called instead of texting. Her voice wasn't angry anymore. It was tight. "You're really at his place, right?" "Yes." "You're not somewhere else?" "No." A pause. "You'd tell me if you were?" I didn't answer immediately. Not because I was hiding anything, because the question itself said more than the answer would. She wasn't worried about my feelings anymore. She was worried about losing control of the narrative. Over the next day, it became more obvious. She'd text, "You're being distant. You've never done this before. I don't like not knowing what you're doing." At one point, late at night, "You're not with some girl, are you?" No anger, no accusations, just fear. I could almost see it happening on her side, the certainty slipping. The "he's not going anywhere anyway" turning into "what if he actually does?" When I didn't respond immediately, she'd follow up. "Hello? Are you ignoring me? Why are you doing this?" It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't explosive. It was something quieter. For the first time, she didn't know where I was emotionally. For the first time, she didn't know what I would do next. And that unsettled her more than any argument ever had. That was the shift. It wasn't about me cheating. It wasn't about another woman. It was about her realizing I wasn't fixed in place, that I could step back, that I could choose distance, that I wasn't guaranteed. And underneath all the texts, the checking, the suspicion, there was something raw and simple. She felt the possibility of losing me. Not in a dramatic movie way, in a quiet, uncomfortable, very real way. And for the first time since that laugh in the kitchen, she wasn't certain. She was afraid. On the third day, I went home. Not dramatically. I didn't rehearse a speech in the car. I didn't sit there staring at the steering wheel like I was about to walk into a courtroom. I just parked, turned off the engine, and sat in the quiet for a moment. I wasn't angry anymore. I was clear. When I walked in, she was in the kitchen, not scrolling, not distracted, just standing there like she'd been waiting without wanting to look like she was waiting. "You're back," she said. "Yeah." There was a strange restraint in her voice, careful, measured. I set the bag down by the door, didn't rush to hug her, didn't keep distance either, just stood there for a second and looked at her properly. "We need to talk," I said. She nodded immediately. "I know." We sat at the table, same table where we'd eaten 100 normal dinners, but it didn't feel normal. I didn't start with feelings, I didn't start with accusations. "I thought a lot these past few days," I said. She didn't interrupt. "I'm not leaving," I continued. "I didn't go to Mark's to test you. I went because I needed to understand what bothered me so much." She swallowed. "Okay." "It wasn't just the sentence," I said. "It was how easily you said it, how sure you were." She looked down at her hands. "I wasn't trying to—" "I know," I said calmly. "I know you weren't trying to hurt me. That's not the point." She lifted her eyes slowly. "The point is this," I continued. "If I ever hear you talk about me like I'm guaranteed, like I'm some fixed object that can't leave, I will leave." The words weren't loud, they weren't sharp, but they were steady. Her face changed instantly. Not outrage, not defiance, shock. "You'd leave?" she asked quietly. "Yes." The room felt smaller for a second. "I'm not threatening you," I said. "I'm not trying to scare you. I'm telling you I won't stay in a place where I'm spoken about like I don't have a choice." She leaned back in her chair, processing. "I didn't think you'd take it like that," she said. "That's the problem," I replied. "You didn't think. That wasn't cruel, it was factual." She nodded slowly. "I got comfortable," she admitted. "Too comfortable." "Yes. I thought that meant we were solid," she said. "That I could joke like that." "Being solid doesn't mean being careless," I said. "There's a difference." Silence. She looked like she wanted to defend herself again. Like the old reflex was trying to kick in. Minimize, explain, laugh it off. But she didn't. Instead, she said, "When you left, I realized I wasn't as sure as I thought." I didn't react. I let her continue. "I kept thinking you were going to call and say this was stupid, or that you were just mad. But you didn't. No. And then I realized you actually could leave." "Yes." She nodded slowly. "And that scared me." That was the first completely unguarded sentence she'd said. I leaned forward slightly. "I don't want you to be scared," I said. "I want you to respect that I'm choosing this." Her eyes lifted to mine. "I do choose this," I continued. "I'm here because I love you. But if I ever feel like I'm staying because you assume I won't go, I won't stay." It wasn't a dramatic pause. It was just quiet. She pressed her lips together, thinking. "I didn't mean to disrespect you," she said finally. "But I did." "Yes," I said. "I shouldn't have said that, especially not like that." Not laughing. "No." She inhaled slowly. "I'm sorry. Not rushed, not defensive, no but. Just sorry. And it won't happen again," she added. I held her gaze for a moment, making sure this wasn't just the panic of losing control talking. "I'm not asking you to walk on eggshells," I said. "I'm asking you not to talk about me like I'm stuck." She nodded. "You're not." "No. And I won't treat you like you are." There was no dramatic embrace after that. No tears. No big cinematic repair moment. Just two people sitting across from each other, slightly more aware than they had been 3 days ago. For the first time since that laugh in the kitchen, she wasn't looking at me like something fixed in place. She was looking at me like someone who had made a choice, and understood that I was making one too. Weeks passed. Not in some cinematic, everything changed overnight way. There was no dramatic rebirth of the marriage. No sudden transformation into a perfect, hyper-aware couple. It was subtler than that. Quieter. The first thing that changed wasn't her. It was me. I stopped overcompensating. I didn't rush to fill silence. I didn't smooth every rough edge. If something bothered me, I said it early, calmly, directly, before it had time to turn into resentment. And when she caught herself making an offhand comment, one of those casual, dismissive jokes, she'd pause mid-sentence. Not theatrically, just a small correction. "Actually, that came out wrong," she'd say, and she'd adjust. The first time she did that, I noticed. I didn't smile, I didn't praise her, but I noticed. And she noticed that I noticed. It wasn't fear that settled into the relationship after that. It was awareness. There were moments when I saw her almost slip back into that easy certainty, that relaxed confidence that I was fixed in place. But now there was something else layered over it. Consciousness. One evening, a few weeks later, we were at dinner with friends. Someone made a joke about long marriages and, "Where you gonna go anyway?" She laughed with them for half a second. Then she glanced at me. Not nervously, not apologetically, just checking. And instead of adding something dismissive, she said, "You always have a choice. That's the point." It was small. No one else at the table even registered it. But I did. Later that night, as we were getting ready for bed, she said quietly, "I never want you to feel replaceable again." I didn't turn it into a speech. "I don't," I said. And that was true. Because the real shift wasn't in her words. It was in mine. I no longer felt like the man who wasn't going anywhere anyway. Not because I was constantly reminding her I could leave, but because I knew I could, and I was choosing not to. That's the difference between being trapped and being committed. Commitment isn't about eliminating the door. It's about knowing it's there and staying anyway. And now, when she looks at me, there's no casual certainty in it. There's something better. Recognition. If you felt this story hit hard, drop a like, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps Steelheart beating.